And now, from your local election headquarters, the only locally produced political talk show discussing the issues that matter to you. This is Big Country Politics on KTAB.
Thanks for being here for this week's edition of Big Country Politics. I'm Victor Sotelo, and on today's show, we're going to go through some of the highlights of KTAB's recent City Council debate. KTAB City reporter Nathan Grieve has a complete wrap-up of the debate, which includes both Place 5 and Place 6.
Our coverage started with the 5 candidates running for the vacant 6th seat on the council.
Well, one of the things that I would like to do is, frankly, it concerns me all the buffers that the City Council and some of the members seem to have in them. Years ago, you used to be able to just walk up and talk about every issue right before a vote was being made.
We have people in our community who are hurting, people that in the 79603 area where the median income is at $18,000. I think it's important to understand that there are people here who desire to have jobs that are meaningful, jobs that will place them in a position where they can flourish and thrive in this city. As a council person, I would make sure that we are looking at incentives and tax abatements for these small businesses to be able to come in and thrive within our community. I would want to make sure that we are not putting them under the same umbrella as big box chains or multi-dollar corporations.
I don't like the fact that in order to go to the City Council, you have to sign out a lot of forms, you have to make an appointment, things like that. I would like to see that there be maybe some of the councilmen or just one would go to a place, tell people he's going to be there, they can come to him.
Promote economic growth, bring our debt down. Also that we need to have economic growth, private sector growth, get government out of the way. I think government is too intrusive in the city of Abilene, too many restrictions, too many ordinances on our everyday lives and our businesses.
The second half of the debate turning to the 3 challenging for Place 5.
One of the things that we as the city has done when we recently looked at the new CityLink routes is that we made sure that the bus routes were available to help people get to jobs. Well, if people have a good way to get to a job, that can help with their income and help them if they're in a homeless situation to maybe find a place to live.
I want you guys to look at Kyle's voting record in reference to City Council. When you look at these votes and these rises in taxes, it's a yes all the time, yes all the time. And when you look at our City Council members, it's just this. You got a little bobblehead sitting on the City Council, and so that's got to change.
We've just got to make these intentional investments and make sure that we're being good stewards of the money. We just can't sit on money and not do anything to bring development. We have to make sure that we are progressing and not regressing in that regard.
As for who won or lost, that's for you to decide at the polls. For your local election headquarters, Nathan Grieve, KTAB News.
Now, here are just a few moments from Place 6. This is the race where 5 different people are now vying for the spot vacated by Councilman Steve Savage.
What is the most important issue that is compelling you to run for the City Council seat? Each candidate has 30 seconds for their answer, and we begin with Ron Constantine.
The reason why I'm running is because for too long the City Council has been concerned about issues such as potholes, holes in the ground, buildings they're going to build, policemen, firemen, city employees. I don't believe that they're treated fairly or within what their value is to the city. We need to make sure that we honor all of our promises and all of the things that are benefits deserving of our city employees.
And now to Travis Craver, the more important issue leading to your candidacy.
I'm running because I truly love the city. I'm running because I fully believe that not only is it important to love the city, but it's important to do the due diligence and work alongside its citizens and give back to a city that's given so much to me and my family. My wife Caroline and I have 2 kids, Leia who's 5 and Linus who's 3. And for me, it's important to not only have a desire to bring alongside the citizens who need and desire to have a voice at the table, to get in the trench work of our city. And so I've been on boards doing that.
And Jessica Cantu, one issue that got you into the race.
Okay. Well, I am running because I want to encourage and promote unity. I want to make sure that those that feel like they don't have a voice within our community, that voice is spoken for them. I want to partner existing organizations, churches, and nonprofit organizations, helping those with the greatest need within our community. To me, all lives matter, including the unborn, and I just want to come alongside our current mayor and council and make decisions that affect not only today but future generations, for them to continue to stay, live here, and do business here in Abilene, Texas.
And now, David Turveville, why did you decide to run?
I decided to run. I was tired of the lack of care that some of the people on the council had given to the people in Abilene, and I am trying to bring that back to you by having a servant's heart, by listening to you people, and to do what's best for you.
Thank you, sir. And now to Charles Byrne. What led you to city politics?
One of the things that led me to city politics was the debt that we have in our city. We're $750 million in debt. We need to get our debt under control, and building hotels is not a way that we need to do that. One of the things that we need to do is promote economic growth, bring our debt down. Also, that we need to have economic growth, private sector growth, get government out of the way. I think government is too intrusive in the city of Abilene, too many restrictions, too many ordinances on our everyday lives and our businesses.
Thank you. Now, many believe that our city is at an economic tipping point. Much progress has been realized in recent years, and the future is bright as it relates to the creation of economic opportunity for our citizens. If you could wave a magic wand, what would you see as the most significant positive impact our city can make to ensure progress for Abilene, and how would you, as a city council member, influence that? You have 1 minute for the answer, and this time we start with Travis Craver.
For me, I don't believe that there's one answer for the whole city, but I do believe that it's important for us to recognize that we have people in our community who are hurting, people that in the 79603 area where the median income is at $18,000. I think it's important to understand that there are people here who desire to have jobs that are meaningful, jobs that will place them in a position where they can flourish and thrive in this city. And so for me, I believe this hotel is a great start to that. If you'll think in terms of the 7.5 that's being invested by local citizens, and not just that, but the 12 million that was invested in tourism dollars, that's $700 less per household that each and every one of us citizens had to pay in terms of our taxes. And so I think it's a step in the right direction. I don't think that there's an answer that fits it all, but I think that this is one of the catalysts that can get our city moving in the right direction.
Thank you, Travis. Jessica Cantu, what positive impact would you have serving on the city council?
Okay, well, I would hope that with the 3 universities and tech and trade schools that we have here, I want to see us bring in higher paying jobs into the community. We have a lot of great talent, and so we need to make sure that we are offering jobs to keep that talent here within our community. So if we can look at that, that would be something that I think would develop our economy greatly.
Thank you. David Turveville, how would you help ensure progress for the Key City if you were elected?
Well, if we could wave some sort of wand over the city, I would fix the roads, of course, and the infrastructure, which is starting to fall apart. For the most part, though, we're at such a good place here in the state of Texas. We're very well. It's a good place to be right in the middle of Texas. We have several. Crossroads here, and so if I'm on the council, I would try to bring in those businesses so that this city is seen as a hub, and I would like to do that.
Thank you. Now to Charles Byrne, the most significant impact you see if you're sitting on city council.
The most significant impact that I see as a sitting city councilman would be economic growth. But we need to do it through the private sector. We don't need to do it through taxing our citizens to death as we do now when it comes to property taxes in this hotel. One thing that needs to be pointed out is one of my opponents mentioned the hotel and $7.5 million. The total monies that the city will put towards this hotel is $23 million. And the citizens will be on the hook for $23 million if this hotel flops. So my thing is, city government should not be picking winners and losers in hotels, water parks, and things like that. We need to look at economic growth where the private sector comes in and does what they do best when the government gets out of their way, gets rid of ordinances and the restrictions that we need to do business in Abilene. Also, when the city government's involved, they own something, and I don't think they should be competing with private sector individuals such as hotel owners. I've spoken to hotel owners, and they're not happy with this hotel because they believe that the city owns this hotel and they will not get the things that the city would be able to provide.
Thank you, sir. Now, Ron Constantine, positive impact for the future of Abilene. Ron?
Well, one of the things that I would like to do is, frankly, it concerns me all the buffers that the city council and some of the members seem to have in them. Years ago, you used to be able to just walk up and talk about every issue right before a vote was being made. Now, with the DCOA, the Development Corporation of Abilene, they have another board that decides what tax money is paid, and there's no oversight by the city council. And alarmingly, I wasn't able to speak for or against the creation of the new board for this Abilene hotel business that they're trying to pan off on the city of Abilene. I believe that we have plenty of hotels already in the city. We're building 2 more, and it concerns me when I talk to a county commissioner that our mayor won't even discuss details with one of them, much less a candidate running for city council. The city council has become too aloof and too detracted from citizens, and what I'd like to do is make it to where people actually know what's going on instead of use political maneuvering to not allow people to ask questions that are relevant.
Ron, thank you very much. Time's up.
I'm here on Big Country Politics. We talk about a few moments on the Place 5 debate. We're back in 2 minutes.